Hi there, it's Kevin Benedict, SAP Mentor and Mobility Analyst, reporting live from Brussels today, where we're at the Enterprise Mobility Exchange. I'm here with Nick McQuire from IDC Research. Nick, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell me, what are you seeing interesting in the whole area of enterprise mobility right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and this is no secret, things are absolutely in chaos at the moment in the mobile enterprise space. There's obviously a lot going on. I think, fundamentally, as many of us know, that the biggest trend we see clearly is how IT adapts to this new world of mobility, which is driven fundamentally by the consumer mobile and consumer electronics industry. We only really need to go back as far back as maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago, where the world of Wintel kind of duopoly kind of stood firm, and now we're seeing that the walls of that, if you like, classic set of players in the enterprise IT environment, to an extent coming down, and more new entrants coming into the market. And IT departments are really trying to grapple with what this means and how they can capitalize on that innovation on one hand, because innovation is really strong in that space, but secondly, how do they manage it and control it for the force of good of the industry?
Yeah, talk to me about the innovation you're seeing in the consumer space that may have relevance to the enterprise mobility space.
Yeah, so there's loads of innovation that we're going to see kind of applied in time. I mean, obviously, we're here at an event typically around field service, which is effectively the old guard of enterprise mobility, if you think going back, and we're starting to see a lot of the kind of things around mobile payments and mobile commerce will impact field service in time. Things like augmented reality, I think, are going to play a role in field service in the future as well. You've also got video technologies coming out to mobile devices. We have that to come. Increasingly, we've got it on tablets. The tablet form factor itself is actually starting to creep into field service as well, and more, which is also playing a role. So there are a large number of innovations coming, not even to mention 3D technologies and stereoscopy and things like that. So there's more to come. So it's going to be an exciting and innovative time. I think we're going to have to see it more deployed universally in a consumer environment before we'll start to see kind of enterprise deployment of some of this technology come. But that's some of the things we can look forward to down the road. So
let me put you on the spot. Some of these innovations coming out of the consumer industry, they're not even on the roadmap of the ERP guys or the big enterprise mobility vendors. How far is the lag time between what you're seeing in the consumer space and what shows up in the enterprise mobility space?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and obviously, historically that lag time, was relatively aligned to where we see major operating system refreshes in the mobile industry. So each vendor probably worked on a kind of a 12 to 18 month lag, and depending on what they prioritize from an application perspective within the OS, that usually dictated when that technology was available in the market, and then of course there was a lag on top of that when enterprises would deploy it and adopt it. So you're looking anywhere between 18 months to 2 years, 3 years time frames for this technology. But what's interesting in the consumer mobile space is that the market's flipping much more quickly than even the 12 to 18 month time frames that we're used to, say, going back 2.5 years ago. If you look at some of the new operating systems in the market now that are coming, particularly if you think of RIM, BlackBerry, and QNX, RIM are talking about updating that operating system on a monthly interval. Every month to 6 months type of time frame, you can expect a major functionality refresh. So that will shorten the time lag from, if you like, a handset and operating system perspective. But of course, it requires the IT vendors who are used to different time frames to kind of work on different models.
Yeah, how do you do that in an enterprise when you can't even get the app built before the operating system's refreshed on the next version of hardware?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, obviously there are a lot of challenges, and that's why enterprise needs to stay close. They need to stay close to their partners and get really good visibility of those roadmaps. But equally, it's not a rush, right? I mean, I think enterprises have the fortune to kind of look and see how it's deployed in consumer, see how the technology matures, and apply it in relevance in the enterprise. And that's certainly what we've seen with the iPhone and some of the consumer platforms that have now entered the enterprise. So I think that type of model will apply for some of the newer apps to come as well.
I thought it was interesting that one of the speakers that you and I just sat through a moment ago said that they don't build apps in-house yet.
Yeah,
they said,
things
right. happen too quick for us to try to settle down on a methodology or a strategy or a policy. We'll let our contractors learn all the fast-changing technology until it stabilizes.
Yeah, I mean I think that model is very typical. Even, and you have to think that is an enterprise that's at the front line with trying of experimenting with mobile apps, right?
Yeah.
And those guys, if those guys are taking that approach, which I think is actually quite practical and realistic, I think that shows that could actually be a bellwether for things to come, particularly when you've got a market that is so dynamic and so competitive, but equally you want to reach as wide an audience as possible. And let's be honest. I mean, I think enterprise mobility, particularly here in Europe, is becoming a new profession for IT. They're really having to grapple with this new world that is very different from the world that they've known in the past. Some of them will build those skill sets in-house, but it's equally very difficult to find talent that can do development and UI design and things like that for mobile cross-platform. But others, I think, and more importantly, those that are really going for it will have to use an outsourcing or at least a trusted advisor model to do.
Yeah, that's really interesting because as having worked with developers, I know they're chomping at the bits. They want to be developing the coolest, sexiest new technology, but there's just no ROI in it.
That's right.
To build
something,
a skill set in-house that'll be out of date next week.
That's right. Exactly right. And you've regionally you've got different preferences for different platforms. In Europe, yes, we are increasingly getting more and more of a smartphone, or if you like, a high-level operating system environment world. But we've still got a lot of feature phones. To an extent, legacy phones that are still in the market. As you scale out globally into emerging markets, the feature phone segment is becoming more and more valuable as well. So you really need to think, and there's obviously trade-offs. You really need to think about your addressable and play, in mind with respect to trade-offs. And I think that's what practical organizations that really want to be on the front line of mobile need, those trusted advisors to help them do that. And typically, it's these smaller, nimble firms that have been concentrating on this space for a while are the ones that are stepping into that opportunity for them.
Well, Nick, I want to thank you for spending some time and sharing with the audience today.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me.